Good evening. Welcome to the February 28th, 2023 Education and Pupil Services in-person and virtual meetings. Dr. McGarry, before we call tonight's meeting to order, would you please outline the public participation procedure, sir?
Yes, Board President Brown, just for those who are in the audience and those who are participating virtually, a couple adjustments tonight. We are moved and have moved, it was on the agenda, the Education and Pupil Services to go before Finance and Operations. It's an informational session, and we have students here, and we want to make sure that they can get home tonight to study for tomorrow. So we want to get them out of here as quickly as we possibly can. If you want to participate in tonight's evening, we have several ways to do so. Obviously, for those who are participating in person, the board will review the agenda items for this evening, answer questions of each other and of the administration, and go back and forth. And when they feel like they have had that conversation, they will then open it up to the public. Same thing will go for those who are attending virtually. For those who are in person, please come to the microphone, provide your name and address, and the specific agenda item on the report this evening that you would like to comment on or question. Tonight, they are committee meetings, so the board will take questions and comments. If there are questions, the board will answer themselves or direct those questions to the appropriate administrator to provide the best answer. That will take place as well for the Finance and Operations Committee that will be following Education and Pupil Services this evening. If you're someone who's participating virtually, virtual participation will happen after all in-person participation takes place. Virtual participation, you can send, can you hear me? Is this still, okay. Back up a little bit, sorry. You can participate by sending in questions or comments to boardmeetingcomments@upperdarbysd.org. You can also provide a phone call at 610-789-7200, extension 2000. If you're either emailing or providing a phone message, please provide your name and address and clearly state which agenda item you'd like to comment on or question. We will read that before closing out those specific reports and agenda items for the evening. I'm happy to review that again before we go forward tonight.
Please do at your discretion.
Thank you.
The meeting of the Education and Pupil Services Committee will please come to order. The district posted this evening's agenda to board docs at least 24 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting. Is there a motion to approve that previously posted agenda?
So moved. Second.
Are there any amendments to offer?
Board President Brown, just that since we switched it, and it's my fault, I apologize, we would have to do roll call for this agenda. Typically, it would have been for Finance and Operations, so I apologize.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Rogers.
Dr. Haig.
Present.
Mr. Desnoyers.
Present.
Mr. Neal.
Present.
Mr. Warsavage.
Present.
Ms. Murphy Mercy.
Present.
Ms. Williams.
Present.
Ms. Mitchell.
Present.
Mr. Fields.
Present.
Mr. Brown.
Present. Now we'll do a vote for the revised agenda. The agenda has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please signify by saying aye opposed and state your name for the record. Those abstaining, please signify by saying aye abstain and state your name for the record. The motion carried. I will now turn over the Education and Pupil Services Committee agenda to co-chair Mr. Neal.
Thank you, President Brown. Dr. Kelly, could you please begin with an overview of your agenda items this evening?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. So tonight we have two items on our agenda. The first item being the Upper Darby High School Community Pride through Youth Mentorship, which is an informational item. Dr. Alloway is here with a group of our high school students who is going to present this mentorship program. Following that, the second item are our policies for this evening. So at this time, if I can, turn it over to the students and Mr. Alloway.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that when we had our agenda setting meeting, that I was very excited to see this presentation tonight. So I'm very excited. I've been looking forward to this like all month. So yeah, let's do it.
All right, Dr. McGarry, thanks for introducing us, Board President Brown, the entire school board, the public who's watching, and everybody who's here tonight. Ms. Sims for coming from our Family and Consumer Services Department. Thank you. I'm going to start and introduce our Community Pride through Youth Mentorship program. I'm just going to get into the very beginning of this and a little bit about who we are and where we've been. And then I'm going to turn the microphone over to the students who are going to present the bulk of this presentation tonight. So, you have to watch this presentation and subscribe to what we believe, okay? The first and foremost is that we firmly believe that student engagement in school is the key to improvements in school climate and school safety, period. We also believe that through this program, we can create a project here that improves our teacher pipeline. We believe that the mentorship program that we're going to present tonight is mutually beneficial to not only the person who's doing the mentoring, but also to the mentee. So a little bit about who we are and where we've been. This is just a small part of the larger student group. We have students who are in all grades, 9 through 12. We meet weekly with key stakeholders here at the high school, and that includes Dr. McGarry, Mrs. Simone, and myself, sometimes more than weekly. The biggest questions that we've been trying to unlock this year are, from the student's lens, what do you want to see at your school? What can improve your school? And we have talked about literally everything at school. But the biggest thing is about engagement, about pride in our school, about kids staying connected, about the teachers that are working with the kids every single day. And so that's what we're here to talk about, our answer to those pressing questions. We have reviewed everything. We've talked about the larger concerns facing school systems, locally, at the state level, and also nationally. Locally, we've talked about the things that we see in our school. There's a teacher action research group that talks about staff retention and school climate. We've reviewed the notes from their meetings and from their work through last year and through this year. We've talked about the things that we feel would make our schools safe. Conversations have included talking about weapon detection systems, talking about students wearing ID badges and presenting them as soon as they arrive to school, talking about increasing the number of school security guards or even armed guards, talking about the consequences that students face when they're at school. We have talked about what works. We focused on the Trauma and Neurologic Initiative. We've talked about student-led youth courts and restorative practices. We've also, on a local level, had representatives from our group visit schools. We have visited schools in Southeast Delco, in Reading. We've talked with administration in Coatesville School District. All schools trying to answer some of the questions about how do we make people, teachers and students and parents feel safe and connected in school. So we've had those site visits, and we've also talked about some of the larger scale things. We talked about Newport News, Virginia. We talked about Uvalde, Texas, and all of the reactionary kind of measures that schools are being kind of forced into in response to major and catastrophic issues at school. We came up with a mentoring program, and then now I'm going to just pass it off, as I said, to our students who are going to present. So Ryan Hensari.
Hi, my name is Ryan Hensali, and I'm an 11th grader at Upper Darby High School. I am a member of the representative student group that's been meeting weekly, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here today. As a group, we have spent a lot of time discussing safety and security concerns, along with a staffing crisis impacting schools nationwide, but especially in Upper Darby. After conversation and research, we are proposing a mentorship program, a future educators program, a digital citizenship curriculum, and a teen and police service academy in order to tackle these issues. The objective of the mentorship program we are proposing is to identify students who are interested in teaching and give them an opportunity to obtain field experience by mentoring students. We want to create a clear pathway for these students to become teachers in our district, enriching students with teaching experience in high school, earning an industry-recognized credential in education fundamentals with district support, and supporting them through college. We believe mentoring will diminish unwanted incidents in our school by fostering community pride. We also believe that membership will build and diversify our teaching staff, addressing staffing shortages. Before providing students with mentorship field experience, we propose a prerequisite mentorship course in order to ensure mentors are properly equipped with the tools needed to mentor students. Units of study will include trauma, restorative practices, digital citizenship, recognizing and reporting child abuse, and for first aid and education fundamentals with a district-provided industry credentials exam.
Hi, my name is Tanvir. I'm a senior here at Upper Darby High School. The mentorship course would serve as a prerequisite to better prepare students for field experience, but the internship itself would provide a hands-on experience to students in any position, for any position in our school district to get a better knowledge of how our school district operates. This mentorship field experience would not limit students to classrooms, but the experience itself differs from our Future Educators program by expanding students' experiences and serves as a pathway for those wanting to be a part of the Future Educators program. And field experience kids would also be paid once we identify as those 24 future educators.
Hello, my name is Sama Gorfa. I'm both a part of this student advisory group and I'm also one of the student school board representatives. So with that being said, while the Future Educators program is in progress, our current goal and first step towards kickstarting this program is to identify 24 students, Upper Darby seniors, who are interested in a career in teaching and hiring them as classroom assistants in our kindergarten center. They would simultaneously pursue college credit towards a teacher education program while doing this. To expand on this, we then plan to create a pipeline to paid classroom assistants that would then follow the path to becoming Upper Darby School District teachers. Alongside that, we also want to create a mentorship program for students who exhibit qualities of a mentor, including students who want to become teachers, coaches, and guidance counselors.
Hi, my name is Khalid Dulat. I am a 12th grader at Upper Darby High School. I am part of the student advisory group and thankfully I am one of the student board representatives. This career path doesn't only start in our high school, but it starts down in the middle school levels. We implemented a 60 course plan that shows 6th, 7th, and 8th graders 60 different career paths, and we hope to find some of these students to be interested in any of these 60 career paths. And one of the career paths being a teacher. If any of these students leaving 8th grade have interest in following and becoming a teacher, they would follow the first pathway, and oncoming 9th graders would meet with their counselors and roster child development as one of their first classes. And then during the 10th grade year, they would roster preschool lab. After that, they would roster PFE education and or the mentoring course. And during their senior year, they would finally take the Future Educators program and dual enroll at DCCC with an internship. And for those students who don't know what they have planned after 8th grade year, and I know it's a very, very daunting thing to think about, and especially to put yourself into a course straight away. Some of these students don't have an idea what they want to do straight out of 8th grade, and they continue to study throughout their 9th and 10th grade year. If teachers or coaches or any staff identify them as somebody who is a good mentor or a good model, and they're known to guide people and help people, they would suggest for them to take the mentoring course and follow into FEP. And they would meet if the student shows interest, they would go to the counselor and meet with them to roster a mentoring course. And the mentoring course doesn't mean that you would become a teacher. You can become a coach, you can become a social worker, you can become a teacher as well. But this mentoring course is meant to show kids that it's possible to become a teacher, become an educator in our school district. And even outside of becoming an educator, it's good to have this experience if you're going into something that requires leadership. And through DCCC, these students on both pathways would get certifications, and they would have the experience through both becoming an educator or anything else within our school district.
So as for right now, our current plan is, as of spring 2023, our current Upper Darby High School students will complete an interest survey to identify their interests and abilities in working with ELL students, children, special needs, and other specialized areas of mentorship. And then we would then use this information to identify mentors for different field placements.
At this time, we would like to explore the best practices when it comes to youth supporting youth mentorship programs. We recognize that we already have trauma-informed practices, restorative justice, and other mental health resources, but we want to make sure this also includes other opportunities that mentorship programs may afford to us.
We want to ensure that mentors are good role models to students and can foster community pride. We decided the best way to do this is through an application process. Students in their sophomore year could write a short interest essay about education and/or community service. These students can then be interviewed by administrators. All students would be checked for grades and discipline, and a teacher recommendation can help vouch for the students' characters. A district-funded background check and criminal clearances will also be required before students can become mentors. In order to gather interest in this program, we also proposed the following communication plan: making a video highlighting the program and displaying these videos to students during course selection, sending these videos to students and parents, and promoting it via district social media. We are also interested in hosting an in-person workshop, possibly during school, an event in order to present this program and answer any questions that prospective applicants may have.
So, of course, with all this being said, there would be financial implications to implementing this program. So, we would potentially need to budget for staff that would develop the curriculum, child abuse and criminal clearances for students, staff for the mentorship elective program, an RFP to develop the program, potential transportation costs for students to travel to and from schools, and potentially paying or reimbursing tuition for students who will teach at Upper Darby in the future.
When discussing safety and security concerns at schools, we came to an understanding that a lot of incidents can be rooted to social media usage, which can encourage impulsive behavior. We also understand that the impacts of poor social media usage can be detrimental and permanent. We decided that it's in the district's best interest to embed digital citizenship into the curriculum, incorporating it into the middle school, high school, and in the high school mentoring elective. We believe that mentors are especially well equipped with digital citizenship teaching, since they may be more familiar with social media usage and would be in a better position to explain this to their peers.
There were a lot of things that are part of this program and part of this presentation that are ideas and future considerations. Among them is, earlier in the year, for those who have been paying attention to the committee and board meetings, we introduced a program where EMT and fire safety could be taught to students as a possible career path. Among the promising practices that exist out there are this Teen and Police Service Academy, which is a single course that bridges the gap between our teenagers and the community and the police and law enforcement in the community. Part of what we talked about in mentoring and prepping our mentors is that teaching of digital citizenship, which again is a kind of a constant in terms of the risks that youth will take and the mistakes that we sometimes find them making, and sometimes law enforcement involved incidents. So we want to make sure that we push this out as a potential part of this program as a future consideration, which will lead me to my next slide. Here is what we're asking for tonight. We want to, as a group, obtain your approval to move forward with this project. Obviously, we have to iron out all of the details and build this. We would ask that we have permission to explore the costs associated with the Future Educators program. We are asking for an RFP to develop the mentoring program. We want to continue, I mentioned earlier that the student group talked about student ID systems. We want to continue to investigate school student ID systems. Some of the technology that's available to us that we want to investigate includes ID systems that give us visitor management, but also on-campus site management of our student population. Some student ID programs actually take and record live attendance throughout the day and give us a complete and clear picture of who's on campus and who is where. And we also want to expand upon that teen and police program, the TAPS program that was part of our last slide. So we would be asking for permission or for your go-ahead to develop a comprehensive program presentation for a future board meeting, perhaps in March. Thank you.
Dr. Alloway and students that are here, blown away. I know how much time and effort you've put into this. I know how many conversations we've had, some strongly opinionated conversations back and forth, and we haven't left anything, not discussed here as a group and as a team. I know some of you were nervous about tonight, but you did a phenomenal job presenting yourselves and really protecting what you think is important. And I want to make it clear that when we had these conversations, I expressed to you as the superintendent my fears, what keeps me up at night. And, kind of give you this worst case scenario, best case scenario. And a lot of you pushed back on how it would make you feel if this school had weapons detections or metal detectors and things in place. Khalid, you were strong about it. Tanvir, you were strong about it. Ryan, Selma, our other friends that are in the back were very opinionated about this. And we had some good back and forth. And, what really was impressive is when we brought up this idea, when I said, what about mentorship in youth and getting our youth involved? You all believed that that's the key to building this pride in the community. And you did this homework. Tanvir, you've emailed schools. Ryan, you've gone out there and looked at applications and an application process. Selma and Khalid, we constantly have these conversations. You did your homework on the best practices. You put this presentation together after going back and forth how to fine tune it. And part of that is to help this mentorship. Whether you recognize it or not, it's also mentoring you that now you know what it takes to try to get something to this moment. It doesn't happen overnight. None of this will happen overnight. It's a marathon to get this forward. What we're asking the board tonight to do is, will you allow us to take this to the next step, right? Not that they're approving anything tonight, that they're simply saying, we have some more homework to do. We want to bring it to you in March and April, but we do want to know if you have any feedback for us, criticisms or otherwise. But we believe that the way we're going to build pride in this school district is through our youth. It's easy to be reactionary, and maybe I'll have egg on my face, which I hope I never do. I know that I have some folks that are here in the audience that I've had some good conversations with too as parents, and I promised that on this night, this evening, when this presentation was made, I would make my stance known. I think moving in the direction of weapons detections and metal detectors and those types of things are reactionary, unfortunate steps that school districts have to take. I hope that we're never in a situation that becomes the first line of defense. I think this board has an obligation to review all possible scenarios. This board has never said yes or no to any of those things, and they would never do it behind closed doors. And so tonight, I appreciate your patience in bringing forward, as kids, what you want our schools to look like, and that this is what we're exploring. This is what's on the table, and those other options right now are not at the forefront of our decision-making. And I want to thank you for being strong with me in our conversations at our meetings. And you are extremely impressive. I see you smiling back there, all of you. Even though Khalid was late twice today, we're okay with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alloway, for the presentation, and thank you, students, for coming in tonight and presenting this. I think it's a wondrous, unique opportunity that we find our school district in, and I really look forward to seeing this developed. And to operate a school district this size, we need more than just teachers. And we saw the program of the TAPS program, and that really helps us outside the community with the resource officers as well inside our school district. We also need carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and there's so many programs that our school district can touch and help alleviate some of the hiring issues, so that way when students walk into our buildings, they're receiving a world-class education, and that's what we're striving for. And I truly appreciate the time and effort that you put into this. I know you've probably decided, I can't, watch Outer Banks tonight. I gotta watch, I gotta do this tonight. I've been watching Outer Banks, so that's why I mentioned it. So thank you so much for putting this time and energy. And I would like to open it up to the other board members if they have any comments for the students or for Dr. Alloway. President Brown?
Thank you, Dr. Neal. I'm impressed. I was really impressed with your presentation of what you came up with. And I love the priorities you selected to be a part of the mentoring program. So it shows us what's important to you guys. So that's what we should be working on. Our priority should be your priority. So your list is comprehensive, and it seems like it's well thought out. Neurologic and trauma and digital citizenship, restorative practices, first aid, all those things are priorities and very important. So I'm really impressed with your list. And one of the things you touched on, and I just want to make sure I heard that correctly, was that no matter what path you go into, even if you don't want to become an educator, like if you wanted to become an engineer, which I think is probably a good profession, that this would be a good program to pursue no matter what path you choose. Is that correct? Is that what I heard?
Yes, it definitely would be.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
I just want to say how impressed I am with all of you also. I think this might be a first since we've been on this board that we've had students up here who have come with a clear and concise and researched plan. I'm sure they had some adult mentors too. Don't discount the adults. But we appreciate all the hard work that you've put into this. And I just want to remind everyone that at committee meetings, right, we're doing like the work of the board. We don't always move everything forward. But we often do, right? But this is the time, this is the opportunity to bring things to the table. And it's really the only opportunity that the board has to review what the administration and the students are planning. And ultimately, we have to approve the spending and the thought process and things like that. So it's a really important time to come to the board. And I think this was a really, really, really awesome example of student advocacy and can carry you through into your adult life, because there's going to be things in whatever community or workplace that you choose to live or work in that your boss is going to ask you, okay, well, you're not happy with something. Well, what is your plan? So I just want to say, good job. And I hope this experience stays with you for a long time. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds with all of your plans and suggestions. You're going to be potentially impacting generations of children. So thank you.
I also would like to commend the four of you for the quality of your presentation, for the work and creative thinking that went into the proposal you have given us. And I would also like to thank very much the mentors and the students involved in this project who are not sitting before us. I believe you have presented the sketches of a number of very promising ideas that, in my opinion, are worthy of further development. And I happen to especially like the digital citizenship course aspect of this, as I think it's easy for many of us, adults and young people, to forget that, once something is posted to social media or the internet more generally, it never goes away. And that, hopefully, thinking positively can be a good thing, but unfortunately, it can also have negative consequences, both immediate and long into the future. So I appreciate the fact that you recognize this, and this is a very clearly a solution that was developed or proposed by the group most closely connected to the, I won't say problem of social media, but the issue of social media, or the topic of social media. So I appreciate all those things. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your willingness to come out and present to us. I too was impressed. I'm not easily impressed, I got to tell you. So thank you so much. Are you up for questions? Or you can answer it, or Dr. Alloway can answer it, either one. I just have two questions. I noticed that you put on your slide that this provides value to the students being mentored, but also to the mentee. So I was wondering if you can tell me what value it's going to provide to the mentee. And then two, do you already have an idea for you, or not you, but maybe the administrators already consulted some teachers that you said from the kindergarten center that you might send? Have you already consulted teachers about this? are onboarded?
So to address the first question of what benefit this has to the mentees, other than these mentors being able to help them academically, we also think it'll be really impactful for these students to have a good role model in their lives, which our application process would ensure that all these mentors are good role models to the mentees. Does that answer your question? Well.
A bit, so, yes, but how will the teachers benefit from mentoring the students as well?
I want to be clear about something. This is really I think, a part of a key ingredient to this. This is a youth to youth. So as much as we're going to have, as Selma presented, a separate 24 students we're trying to identify now to be teachers for next year to work with the kindergarten, hypothetically, we're working that out. What we really talked about is that this mentorship program is going to be overseen by high school administration and teachers, but the students are really going to be working with kids in the elementary, middle school, and high school. They're going to be mentoring the youth. That's really where it is, what we're really focusing on, because in conversations together, while we do want to have that adult part too, which is a really good question, we really focus this presentation on how can we make our school pride and safety and community get better. And in our conversations, this group felt that students mentoring other students and supporting them. Tanvir works in the PFE program here at the high school. She mentors and tutors young children already. She can speak the language of students, and that's helping break down some of those barriers. So when we had that conversation, I'm like, holy cow, we can use this and build our own teacher pipeline at the same time. And so that's where that was. To be honest with you, the other part of what your question is, the adult and student part, that is going to get fleshed out more so when we assign the students to work with those teachers, and we do think there'll be value in that. But the primary focus on this was children working with children, was really the focus.
Right, thank you.
There was a second question you had.
We have met with teachers, guidance counselors, and folks here at the high school to process through this. We do think, and I think it's important we have these conversations, we don't want this to be another situation where if we do assign someone to a teacher, it's extra work for the teacher. So the other key part to this is the courses that we talked about developing and what the students are saying that they'd like to see in it. That's got to be a pretty rigorous course, that when they leave that mentorship course, that they're ready to go and they know what is expected in those classrooms. So we talked about, Dr. Alloway in particular deserves a tremendous amount of credit with Mrs. Simone for helping run these meetings with us. We may have to start small to get big. We don't want to overextend and then fall on our face. This is a marathon. So there's going to be trial and error until we get it right, but we can't quit on it. And so we talked about the idea that we may have to start smaller and then build on those experiences and get feedback from everybody involved in what we can and can't do. That's why Tanvir was like, look, maybe we should go out and get some experts. So she reached out to some schools, came up with an RFP conversation. We actually reached out to North Penn, who has done some kind of a gifted mentorship program. That principal, if you're listening, shout out to you, emailed us right back. Tanvir sent the email. It was pretty cool to network that way. So I think we'll build that part of it. The adult part is a key piece, but we also think that we can get the students on board. That will help us.
I just wanted to echo everyone else's sentiments. I was very proud to hear your presentation tonight. I would just recommend that you guys add that to your portfolio for college because you came up with a very good plan to solve one of the biggest problems in the nation right now. Thank you.
And also, they can add it to the resume when they apply to Upper Darby, right? Okay.
I just want to say thank you so much for all the opportunities that you guys have given us to, just speak our mind, to solve issues that are happening within our own school district. And like how Dr. McGarry said, this is a marathon, and we're hitting the ground running, and we're not stopping, because this has been like a struggle ever since my freshman year, walking through those doors, knowing that this is the start of my high school life, and then COVID happened, and then everything was just thrown up in the air, and it's been a struggle trying to get back to it. But through everything that we've been doing, especially through this, it's been so it's inspirational seeing everything click. Sitting down with everybody, all my friends, and we're all just thinking, and then it just clicks. Everybody figures out a plan, and we build this, and we bring it to a whole list of people and a big audience. And against the people who are watching at home, and for everybody here, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. And I promise you that this isn't where we're going to stop. We're going to make sure that every single student in our school district gets what they're like rightfully owned to. They need this. They need their education. They need a safe place to stay. And I promise you that I'll make sure everybody here will make sure that that happens. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I definitely think they deserve a round of applause. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I do have one question, and I certainly echo all of the compliments that my fellow board members have given you all. You very much deserve it, all of you. I wanted to ask, and I don't want to put any individuals on the spot. There's no need to answer with individual opinions, but I'm also very interested in the digital citizenship component of this, and I wonder if you all discussed, as some schools are doing, the sort of restrictions or limits or outright bans on things like phones in school and things like that. And I wonder if that's something you have talked about. I can understand it not being part of this proposal, but I'm just, again, I don't want to put anyone on the spot as far as their individual opinion, but anything you're comfortable sharing.
Okay.
I'd like to put Salma on the spot. Only because when we talked about this, and she'll remember this soon, a big part of that was us saying everyone should have to take this. And Salma reminded us that there are many responsible young adults who are fine digital citizens and probably wouldn't want to be forced to take this as an elective at high school. But I think you should expand on that.
Yeah, so we definitely did have discussions about that. And like from a perspective of a kid my age, I think that completely like banning phones and, technology in general, kids are still going to find ways to do what they want to do. So you'd rather teach them from a young age a responsible way to do that than to outright like ban things. You know what I mean? And yeah, we did talk about that. And I think implementing the digital citizenship into the curriculum of the middle school is a lot better of an idea than making it a high school class, because that's then, an extra graduation requirement. And, I think we definitely discussed it a lot, and that's kind of like the conclusion we personally came to. So I don't know if you agree, but yeah.
I'm really glad to see it in middle school. You were saying because in high school you have too many other requirements, but I was going to say because in high school it's too late. I don't mean to say it's too late, right? You're never too late to learn something, but I think in middle school is really where we need it.
All right, so that was an informational agenda item number 1. Agenda item number 2 are a few policies, and I would like to hand it over to Director Desnoyers if you'd like to share a summary of the policies that we'll be reviewing tonight.
Thank you again, Director Neal. So there are 6 policies under consideration this evening. As a reminder, these policies must appear on the agenda at a future board meeting and be approved in that board meeting for the policy updates to take effect. The 6 policies in question are Policy 200, Enrollment of Students, Policy 204, Attendance, Policy 217, Graduation Requirements, Policy 221, Dress and Grooming, Policy 233, Suspension and Expulsion, and Policy 251, which is being renamed Students Experiencing Homelessness, Foster Care, and Other Educational Instability. So most of the updates to these policies originate from changes enacted in state law that strengthened supports for students who find themselves experiencing, as the law now reads, homelessness, foster care, or other educational instability. And other educational instability is defined in both the policy updates and the law, and the supports provided are essentially requiring districts to explicitly support or support better students that fall into these categories to improve their chances of achieving graduation of satisfying graduation requirements and achieving graduation to move on in life. So there are some other, while these policies were being updated, administration and the board did take the opportunity to add some additional updates to these policies. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Director Disnors. And also as a note, as we do review these policies, we are updating the language, so we're using gender-neutral language in each policy. Were there any questions or comments regarding the policies that were under review for tonight by the Board of Directors? Okay, so we should be having a second reading, Director Disnors, at our next regularly scheduled board meeting in March, correct?
Yes, that is the plan.
Okay, thank you. So I don't believe when we review, is this an item that we would have to move forward, or is it still just informational?
Yes, you would, if there were any policy after the public comment comes in that would then change the opinion of the board to move certain policies forward to the second reading or not, remember, going to the second reading, there is still an opportunity to comment.
Yeah.
At that time, there isn't necessarily a question and answer. This would be the last time for the public to really Q&A and give the board feedback on thoughts that they would have before these policies go forward.
Right.
So some policies could go forward, some may not, depending on how the public feedback is
All right,
and the board's decision.
Thank you for the clarification, Dr. McGarry. All right, sorry. I lost my place. All right, so this brings us to the public comment section. Tonight, are there any public comments in person for this committee?
Good evening. My name is Edward Ganges. I'm at 1905 Green Hill Road in Lansdowne, PA, really Upper Darby. And just wanted to say thank you to, I think it's Dr. Alloway and all the students for your wonderful presentation, your research, and your goal and agenda of identifying positive ways to actually change the culture of Upper Darby School District. And I'd like to, say that culture being peer-to-peer mentoring, where we take you older students and get you involved with younger students, introduce you to the education, career path, and that type of community involvement from the people, of the people, to the people, I believe is a very powerful tool in the tool belt for the district and the school board to really change climate and culture and improve the lives of all Upper Darby students and residents. So thank you very much for believing in that positive mission, and thank you for the hard work and research that you've done to bring that presentation forward. To the board, as a parent and community member, I do encourage you to vote, as Dr. McGarry asked, to give them the opportunity to continue to move forward, to pursue that agenda. I, as a community member and parent of students, think it's a great idea and shows just the right way of thinking about the potential of our youth from the elementary school all the way up to the high school level. To how positive things can influence change in the community versus more reactionary things. I did hear Dr. McGarry address the idea that metal detectors, he considers it to be a more reactionary possibility in the tool belt, and that it is now, and he'd like to recognize this as maybe a more front-running possibility, and that as not a front-running possibility. I would actually like to invite the board to take this opportunity to declare that weapons detectors, at least in the short term for the 2023-2024 school year, is actually not even on the table for consideration, and that we would be giving a good breathing space to the opportunity to introduce these new positive agendas and other positive agendas that I'm sure Dr. McGarry and the school board must also be working on, as well as Dr. McGarry, the administration and the school board is obviously also working on. If you can't provide us with that assurance at this time, then at least provide us, when you have an opportunity, with an update on where that agenda may be in the list of things, and what the community where the community could look to continue to get some insight into your thought processes on what the status is and how we could continue to provide feedback on that potential possibility as well. So with that said, thank you so much for presenting these positive ideas. Thank you again to the kids for presenting these positive outlooks. And, God bless us all, and might we succeed in doing the most positive things always for our community together. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your engagement and your attendance tonight, Mr. Ganges. Dr. McGarry, would you like to comment?
Yes, obviously, I'm a member of this team with this board. I do not have a voting say here. I think the relationships that we've built, I've always appreciated your honesty and candor. I know that there have been comments made by this board in previous meetings expressing your thoughts and your opinions. I think sometimes, and I've had this conversation, hopefully, and since Mr. Ganges had the courage enough to come to the board and make those comments, which I appreciate, Mr. Ganges and I have had many, many conversations. And some of the conversations I've had, I've talked about sometimes in life we make assumptions. And we make assumptions without giving a chance for everybody to flesh out where it is. Sometimes we want things to happen faster. I, for one, can tell you I'd rather have things happen faster than not, but unfortunately, it doesn't happen as quickly as I'd like it to. And in past conversations with this board, I have an obligation, I'll speak for myself, to bring forward to this board as many opportunities as possible, good, bad, or indifferent, to talk about safety and security. When I interview somebody for this school district for administrative position, I ask a key question. What's going to keep you up at night if I gave you the keys to this school? If you're not thinking about the safety and security of our kids, you might not be a good fit. You got into education, you should care about kids, you should want kids to succeed academically, but socially and emotionally, kids need to feel safe in schools. It is my job for the over 80,000 residents who pay my salary and pay taxes in this school community to bring forward to all of you, all of the options. And Khaled, you got me choked up today, you should know that. Because we do this for you guys, right? And so having come from here and been from here and worrying about safety and security every day, somebody's baby getting hurt in one of these schools, it's emotional for us, right? And I worry about that. So I have to worry about, do I have to have weapons detection systems, armed security, bring dogs in to search lockers because the drugs that kids are involved in or could be exposed to today could kill them in an instant. We worry about that. I have this responsibility. I'm sworn in by a judge to do this job. Appreciate Board President Brown joining me at 4 o'clock, 5 in the morning for a long ride to Reading School District to see what other school, and I thank Reading for taking us in, to see what goes on there. Never once have I been on with this board where a decision was made without a public discussion. And so I will say there isn't a public presentation right now in the next couple of months, and certainly not for the implementation of next year, where we're putting in weapons detection systems in our schools. That's not what we're working toward right now. Could that happen one day? I hope not. But that would happen if poor choices are there. And I've said this to Mr. Ganges, I'm going to say it to anybody who's listening. I hope that if something were to ever happen tragically in any school in this community, private, parochial, public, that we rally around each other instead of blaming people, right? Because what's happening in schools right now is teachers are scared. Administrators are scared that when a young baby brings a gun into a school in Virginia and shoots a teacher, the principal gets fired, that the teachers get in trouble. People are afraid. Why would you take on this responsibility if that's what you have to live with every single day? Nobody got into these jobs to think that we were going to meet with kids fighting on a bus or that kids would have to take drugs and overdose. That's not what we do. We're here to get these young people to do what they did tonight, which is huge, to hear them speak and present themselves that way in Upper Darby as an Upper Darby kid. That's the beauty of these jobs, right? So I'm not here. I don't want to put those things in place in the schools. But until the world wakes up and society wakes up, you leave school superintendents and school board members with little remedies to adult problems. It's not their fault. When Khalid says to me, Dr. McGarry, upset with me, don't make me feel like I'm going to a prison, I don't want them, that hurts. Nobody wants to make that decision. When I walk a building with Board President Brown and we're watching kids in another school community prop doors open to get like gang members into schools to recruit kids, and we're watching it. We're watching it happen. I lose sleep over that. So tonight, my recommendation is that we're not moving forward. And I know that you know that with me because we have that relationship. I'll speak for myself. If we're ever to that point, it will be a public conversation. And it will certainly not, as I said, Mr. Ganges in previous meetings, I'm never going to make everybody happy. I'm not.
We aren't going to make
Right?
everybody happy.
At the end of the day, if I keep my eye on the prize of doing the best we can, having integrity and discussing it, that's all we can ask. And that's what we're going to continue to do. So that's my answer.
Dr. McGarry, the day you stop caring about the safety and the day that's not your priority is the day that I don't think you'll even want to do this job. So your priorities are right. You've heard the mandate from this collective body on what you should focus on, and that's keeping all of our kids safe. I mean, that's the ultimate priority. They need to come here to learn and focus on that. And even while we were on a tour of something that we was looking at, right, just reviewing it, we saw some glitches and, propping doors open to get kids in school while they're showing us an intrusion detection system. So it's scary. It's scary. So, we have to look at all possible things to keep our kids safe. It's terrifying. We're one of the largest school districts, and we haven't had, knock on wood, we haven't had any of the tragedies, and I pray we don't. But if we do nothing, right, let's say we continue on the path that we're on, right, and I don't want to have anything to make kids feel unsafe, but if something happens, then there would be people lined up to say, you did nothing. You let it happen. You just, you rested on your laurels and you just expected things to happen normally. So it's scary. We'll continue to look at it, and we'll continue to ask you to do your job, worry about it, and review things and try to keep us all safe. So thank you for your work and how much you care. That's very apparent. Thank you for that.
Mike Benty, 255 North Linden Avenue. All right, so first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for awesome presentation. I was literally like, no words, like really, like good job. Keep up the good work. I think you guys got something going. Keep the gears in motion, and let's finish strong. Ed covered pretty much most of the thing. I agree with Ed, a lot of things he said. So I'm not going to be on here. I just wanted to second Ed comment, and then I wanted to piggyback off of what you said, Dr. Hedge, right? Hey, okay, about the digital citizenship. So you said something about, I'm sorry, but next time I think I'm going to write. I think I'm going to write out, freestyling like this is like, all right, I'm trying my best here, okay? But you said something about digital citizenship, and I thought about a report from the CDC and the harmful effects on, cell phone technology, social media on teenagers. I mean, it's literally up there with smoking. It's that bad. We're talking about crime. We're talking about all these problems, right? There's a correlation. So I think it would be a good idea personally, I think it would be a good idea to ban cell phones in school. That's just my opinion. Give the kids a break, right, from the cell phones. Right? At least they know when they come to school, cell phones is not allowed. So now they got to put their focus on their academics, right? Yes, responsibility. I understand that part, but us as adults, we have responsibility too to show you guys the way, right? And if it means that we have to limit or try to take something away from you guys for a period of time, right? It's not going to be the end of the world, right? So just something to think about, guys. That's all. Like I don't know, like if we can go in that direction, but it is something serious. The CDC just published a report, right? No joke. It's serious, right? So I suggest all the board members on here to look that up. The harmful effects, social media, and it could probably help alleviate some of the issues in the school, right? So that's all I got to say for tonight. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening to me. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Benti, and thank you for your engagement and attendance this evening. Are there any other in-person public comment? Yes, please state your name and your residence.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Schofield. I reside at 519 Millbank Road here in Upper Darby. I came to really support the presentation of the students here in Upper Darby Township. When I spoke to Dr. McGarry last week and he shared that this presentation would be done by the students, I had to be here to support them and just to cheer you guys on, because the very first time I had interaction with these students was back in the fall at the Children First forum, the weekend forum that we spent 3 long days at the forum. And our goal was to think big. It was to think big. It was to help to write policies that involve the education and safety of the students. And that was the very first time that I had an interaction with them. So to see them almost 6 months later doing a presentation, I am very proud. I am very proud. And just to, again, support the leadership of Dr. McGarry. You're the reason why I'm having faith in the school district again. I've said it to you before, and I'll say it again publicly. I had lost faith in the school district for the way that the leadership was going before. But after hearing Dr. McGarry at the beginning of the school year, of the 22-23 school year, I enrolled my son. I took him out of homeschooling, which we've been doing for several years, and he is now attending Upper Darby School District. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you to the board for supporting his leadership and supporting the students and creating solutions and allowing them to create solutions to some of the challenges that we've had this school year. So thank you so much for everyone here, and especially to our future, because the children are the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schofield, for your attendance and engagement tonight this evening. Are there any other in-person public comment? All right, seeing none, are there any virtual comments or questions presented? Please speak louder.
No, there are no. I got your back, Ms. Buford. There are no public comments tonight.
All right,
Before
thank
we
you,
close,
Doc.
if I could just add one piece to this. I think the amount of work that went into this for the students, and I appreciate that. The real goal is we have to drum up 24 kids who want to be teachers. That's the immediate impact. This, I think, confidently, if the board allows us to, before they make a decision to flesh this out, we got to identify out of 1,000 kids graduating this year, 24 kids that we can encourage to be a teacher. A key part of that presentation is Craig and I have to figure out a way to pay for their future. So those 24 kids, it's important what we talked about. When they leave, one of the barriers is how can I'm getting emotional. This tonight is a big meeting for us. 24 kids remove a barrier for them to become a teacher. You don't get paid a lot to be a teacher. So to come out in debt is a bad idea. So what we talked about is also having some security to have a job while you're going through this is a good idea. So Craig and I are going to work with John, Dr. Council, on what's a reasonable salary when they come out that they can work in our schools. And then, because Ms. Gorfa called me out on this, that the idea there's a difference between reimbursement and payment, correct? It would be better to pay it than reimburse it. So if we can agree that you're going to sign on when you leave here, stay with us. We'll pay your way to get your teaching certificate if you stay with us. There's nobody else is going to figure this out for us. So if we don't figure it out on our own, how are we going to get there? Remove that barrier. We're going to administratively try to bring that to you, that we're going to figure it out financially. They're going to get a salary so they can pay for them to go to school, and then they're going to commit to being teachers here. What better way to diversify our staff and remove some of these obstacles than to do it that way? So the amount of work, that's the short term. The long term, as Dr. Alloway said, is the flow of the program being built and designed. And I think we'll get there. It's going to take a lot of work. Ms. Schofield and I are a member of a Safe Corridors conversation. We had a meeting on Friday. Bonner and Prendy, hopefully they're listening to this because we sent this out to everybody. They're interested in trying to join forces with us in this community for mentorship and giving back. This could lead to community cleanups, you name it, empowering kids that way. We have a long way to go to get there, but I think we can if we get our youth involved in those kinds of things. So think about that before you make your decision and whether you tell me to table it or we can continue to move forward looking at it.
Thank you, Dr. McGarry. I love this conversation about this topic, and I think we could go all night. but I know we have other agenda items. And so to conclude tonight's committee meeting, Dr. Kelly, could you please provide us with a review of the agenda items once more?
So the first item was the Upper Darby High School Community Pride through Youth Mentorship that we spoke of tonight. The students, you did an awesome job to move forward with that work in exploring the ideas that were brought to our attention this evening. And then the second item were the policies.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Both were informational. Item 2 is going to be on the board report, so we'll require board action at that meeting, but it would continue to move forward unless if anyone objects. Okay. All right, seeing none, President Brown, I turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you for running the meeting, Director Neal. A motion is in order for the adjournment of the Education and Pupil Services Committee meeting. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Meeting adjourned.